Hello and welcome to my video today. This is the latest in my series of videos on waterproofing the Fisker Ocean. In previous videos, I've showed how to go into the front right wheel well and deal with those connectors. I also showed a video on how to do the front bumper connectors as well as the rear bumper. In today's video, I'm going to be showing how to seal the hood as well as certain parts of the window cowl area. And I'm going to relocate the cowl drain on this side and the drain on that side. We're going to be moving them about an inch or so that they drain correctly. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to be doing is waterproofing the hood, and we're going to be doing it from the edges from here down to the front, across, and then up the other side. To give you an idea, there is a gap between the hood and the fender, and what we're trying to do is keep water from getting in here and then straight into the motor bay area. And as you can see, there is a bit of a gap all along here. And then on this side too. First, we remove the service lid from the front of the car. Then we remove the two bolts that keep the hood in place. And then slowly lift up the hood and lock it into position. So I am going to start at this end here and put the weather stripping along the inside and just route it all the way up. There is a smooth folded metal area here that you can see. That should give enough surface area for the weather seal to attach. You can either do it in one long piece and just fold the end and go across and go on the other side, or you could use three separate pieces. It depends on the type of weather stripping that you have that may allow the folding to be easier on these corners, but it may be cleaner to do it in three separate sections. At this point, I'm going to take some isopropyl alcohol along with the cleaning cloth and get any of the grime that's along this area here so that the weather stripping can stick to it well. And if you can get your hands on some adhesion promoter or primer for the weather stripping, that would be great too. You can apply this along the same edges that I cleaned, and it should provide a little bit of tack for the weather stripping to adhere to even better. There are a number of different types of weather stripping you could use. The one I purchased looks like this. It has a lip on this side and an adhesive part on this side. And then this part here will go in the gap between the hood and the fender. So I'm going to cut a section that is about long enough to cover this area. You can go over about an inch or so and just trim off the rest as needed. So I'm going to start in this corner right here, pull off the red protection, and then I am going to put this so it's on the painted portion that's folded over, and it's going to allow a certain amount of overlap here. And then I can just start pushing it down and go all the way along the hood. And once we get to the edge right here, we can make sure to trim along here. And now I'm going to do a test fit and show you what it looks like on this side. So when the hood is closed, you really don't see the weather stripping. It's inside the opening here, and it shouldn't be sticking out. You may be able to see it just at the very end here. You can see it coming through here and then down, but that's the only place that I think it's noticeable. If you have the weather stripping too far out, it's going to overlap the fender, and you don't want that. So you want to have it just so that it fills in the gap and doesn't go any further. And what that does is it creates a channel where water can come down here and exit the front without going into the motor bay. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing on that side and then across the front. All right, so we have the weather stripping now along the right side, goes all the way down to the front. And lastly, I'm going to do the strip that goes directly on the front of the hood. All right, so let me test it by lowering it. You can see that the lip of the weather stripping covers the light that's right below it. So it has an overlap. So that means that there's no water getting up and behind this. That was one of the problems with this design, is that water could get above the light and under the hood and get in that way. But now with the weather seal that goes all the way across the front, it pushes down on the light, so you won't get any water inside this area under the hood. Let me open it up now and show you what it looks like. You can see the weather stripping going up along the edge. This one ends at the end, and then we have the second piece here that goes across the front. And it also ends on this side. And you can see I did overlapping so that this piece here and this piece here work together. And then this one goes all the way down to the corner. Make sure you press really hard so that this weather stripping adheres to the hood. So I'm going to do that now, make sure I'm happy with the positioning now. So I'm going to be pressing it down, making sure the adhesion is at its maximum. And that's it, we're done with the hood. While I have the hood open, there are a couple more things I want to look at right here. If you look in this area of the cowl across into this cavity here, there are a number of clips that hold it in place. There's 1, 2, 3. The problem with these clips is if water does go in this area here, it may fall through those clips and then drip down onto the components in this area here, which is not good. So I'm going to use some silicone sealant on those 3 clips, and then that should keep this area pretty good as far as any draining goes. I'll give you a better look right here. There's one, the other, the third one right there. So I'm going to flip those up with a plastic pry bar, and then I'm going to get silicone all around the edges and push them back down. Here is the silicone sealant that I'm going to be using. It is black, so it'll blend in with the surrounding area. So now I'm going to apply some silicone sealant underneath this area here, and also all around the edge on the bottom. And then insert that into the hole. There's also a section near the corner that is probably a good idea to put some more sealant on so nothing leaks through. So here's a view of the 3 trim clips. We got the one here, one in the center, and one on the right. And that should help keep this area waterproof so that nothing will drip down into the components right here. Another thing I have seen suggested is putting some foam along this area here from this corner all the way to this side. This may also keep anything from dripping into this area. So I am going to try to stick some foam in there and show you what that looks like. For the next section here, I'm going to insert foam in between the plastic cowl and the metal frame bar that goes across. I am going to insert the foam here and then insert it all the way from one side to the other. You can use a screwdriver or a plastic pry bar to insert the foam in between, like so, and then just kind of push it all the way across. Okay, so you need about a 3-foot piece of that foam. I had one that was about 1/2 inch by 3/4 of an inch. So here's a look at the finished foam installation here. I have it going all the way across from this side to this side, and it's fitting between the gap on the plastic cowl and that metal frame that goes across. If there's any water that comes in from this area here, this foam will block it and it will be routed towards the sides and not towards the center area where we have a lot of electronics. When working on the drain holes for the windshield cowl area, I recommend using the windshield wipers in service mode so that the wipers can be in an upward position so it's easier to access the project area that we're going to be doing today. So I will turn those on, and as you can see, the wipers are now up. Normally, if you just have the car in ready mode, this service mode will turn off within a minute or 2 minutes. So you don't want that to happen. So you want to keep the car in ready mode. One way of doing that is if you have the NFC card, just keep that on the sensor, and that will keep the car in ready mode for as long as you'd like for this project. And when doing the right side here, that works well with this in the up position. On the left-hand side, there's sometimes where it's advantageous to have the wipers in the up position, and then another time you may want to have it in the lower position. For example, when cutting the hole, I think it's better to do it with the wipers in the up position, and when you are plugging the original hole, it may be a little bit easier to reach it with the wiper down. So it's a very tight area here due to where the wiper arm is located. And then when you're done, just press service mode off. And now for relocating the cowl drains on either side of the windshield. We have one right here, as you can see. And the problem with the location is that when water runs down through that opening, it hits the wrong part of the rail. And what it does is it ends up going forward down here and into this area. So that's not what we want. We want the water to go through the drain and go down here through the back of the wheel well. The best way of doing that is relocating that opening about an inch over towards the center. And what we'll do is block that existing hole with some silicone sealant and a silicone plug. There's a few different ways of doing this. One is using a drill bit that is about 3/16 of an inch and making several drill holes in a row. And it's going to go right in this area here where it is that crease. So that's where you're going to put those holes. And you're going to do the first one starting around here and then going to about here. And a total of about 1/2 inch. That's roughly the size of the one that's right here. This one is about, I think I measured 13.5 millimeters wide by a couple millimeters deep. And then, yeah, we'll do very similar to that in this area here. I'm going to drill the holes first, and then I'm going to plug the existing hole after. So I placed a piece of blue painter's tape marked off with the correct dimensions, and I put it right up next to the existing opening, and then I drew the new opening right here, and then I'm going to drill through that so it gives me a good idea of the dimensions it needs to be. And now you can see the 3 holes that I drilled. I am now going to connect them and make it into one long opening. So here is the final hole. I probably could have done a better job making it more straight, but it gets the job done. So just make sure you take your time. And at this point, I can plug in the hole right next to it that we don't need anymore. Here is the silicone plug that I'm going to be using. I'm going to insert some of the silicone sealant around the edges of it and then push it in place. So I'm going to basically insert the sealant right around in this groove that you see right here. This is the tricky part, trying to get it in that opening since this area is kind of tight. I'm going to place it in with that pliers, and then I'm going to push in the center part here. Let's see if I can get this to work. All right, I'm going to get it in position, and then I'm going to use my fingers and push it in place. So here you can see it. I am now going to use my fingers and push it into the opening. And it is now sealed. It's kind of hard to see. It is deep down in there. And if you need to, use a little bit more silicone around the edges, and then that should be pretty good. We are now on the driver's side, and this side is more difficult since we have the wiper arm in the way. But if I give you a view down through here, you can see the existing drain hole right there. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to be measuring about 1 inch to the center. So on this side, we're going to drill some holes in and make a similar size drain hole on this side. So a little bit more work since you have to work with the wiper in service mode, but it should work similar to the other side as far as the method goes. So I got my tape in here. The end of it goes up to where the existing hole is, and then this is where I plan to drill the new hole. So I may have to move the camera out of the way because this area is super tight to get the drill in. So I'll show you what it looks like after I drill about 4 holes into this area. And here is the drill holes. And now I'm going to clean it up with a file and straighten it out as best I can. And here we go. We have the opening made. You can see the new one on the right side. Not my best work. Kind of uneven there, but do the best you can. It's not exactly a place you're going to see in your vehicle, so I'm not really too concerned with how it looks as long as it's functional. And at this point, I am going to fill in the other hole with the silicone plug with silicone sealant on it. All right, so we're going to insert it into that opening right there. So here we go. We have the plug inserted, and I have a bunch of silicone sealant around it, and that should keep it in place, and no water should be going through at this point anymore. And we have the new drain hole that's right next to it. Another thing I want to mention is that sometimes the washer fluid tank cover here can be a little loose and sometimes water can come in. So I decided to put a piece of gaffer tape over the entire cover since I rarely need to refill the washer fluid, usually just once a year. And then if I need to access it, I just pull that up and then the cover will come off. Another way to do this is putting the gaffer tape inside of the cover so it's less noticeable, but for the most part, I really don't mind. It's not a place on the car that you really look at much anyway. So just something I noticed and want to let you know about. All right, there we go. We've done 3 things today for weatherproofing the Fisker Ocean. I installed weather stripping all around the hood to eliminate issues of rain and water coming in through the top and also from the front. While the hood was open, I also made sure to waterproof a number of trim clips that are in the cowl area, and I inserted a piece of foam all the way across that piece so that it also will keep water out of the motor bay. And then finally, I installed 2 new drains on the left and right side and plugged up the old drains. And this should help with proper drainage for when water comes down the windshield and down those drain holes. They'll go towards the back and not towards the front of the car. All the items that I used in the video today are in the video description. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.